Hello, and welcome to the Academic Center for Writing presentation on writing introductions and conclusions. In an academic essay, the conversation between the writer and the audience takes place in the introduction and the conclusion. The goal of the introduction and conclusion is to entice the audience to care about the subject and to agree with the essay's stance on the topic. Although both paragraphs emphasize the thesis statement and its elements, the introduction sets the argument up for discussion and the conclusion finalizes it. In this presentation, we will be composing effective introductory and concluding paragraphs for an essay answering this question. Considering advances in alternative energy technology and the increasing global awareness of environmental initiatives such as the Ocean Cleanup Project or Global Recycling Day, is pollution still a major problem? By definition, the introduction is the first thing a reader will encounter in a written academic work. As such, it has specific responsibilities toward the reader. Introductions must prepare readers adequately for the journey through the arguments, evidence, counter-arguments, and refutations that they will encounter in body paragraphs along the way. Readers should feel confident that the writer has given them enough information that they can follow the logic contained in the body paragraphs relative to the thesis statement, without being blindsided by unexpected material. If the topic or the stance of the essay is controversial, that controversy should be presented at the outset, not hidden in the body paragraphs to be stumbled upon unwittingly. It should never be held out until the conclusion. This is an essay, not a suspense novel. If a reader must reread the introduction at any point while reading the essay, it has not done its job effectively. Many academic writers claim that composing the introduction and conclusion are the most difficult aspects of writing. This is often because, as stated before, these paragraphs constitute the relationship between the writer and the reader. Beginning writers, returning students, and students with non-writing major degree plans may not yet feel confidence in their academic writing, so these paragraphs can be quite intimidating. There are many ways to creatively start an essay, some of which are listed here. However, there is no rule that says writers must begin at the beginning. Sometimes writers can calm intro anxiety by waiting until the essay is further developed before attempting to write one, especially if the topic is an unfamiliar one for the writer. Inspiration for the perfect intro may take a while, but it will happen eventually. Try not to force the situation. Writers may return to their hook when writing the concluding paragraph. Writers should never assume, especially in an informative or argumentative essay, that their audience are experts in the topic at hand. So an effective introduction will allow readers to familiarize themselves with the subject matter without the need to conduct additional research to understand what the paper is about and how it will be discussed. The principal goal of the introductory paragraph is to transform the reader from a mildly interested passerby lured by the hook to an amply informed analyst of the argument on its merits, evaluating the thesis before delving into the body paragraph discussions to follow. This sample introduction begins with a definition from an unexpected source, a legal dictionary. It goes on to define the various types of pollution, but without going into exhaustive detail. The introduction continues by offering an example of the problems pollution may cause in one particular ecosystem, focusing especially on water pollution from chemicals. Wait, seriously? We're still writing an introduction? Yes, we're now going to illustrate the problem with an actual example. Here we establish the tone of the essay, which is something akin to, pollution is bad, okay? Good news, everyone. After defining the term, describing the problem, and providing an example, it is finally time for the thesis statement. Answer the prompt in a concise sentence that conveys the subject, describes the essay's attitude towards it, and outlines the structure with which the topic, in this case pollution, will be discussed. Congratulations. The most important function of an effective conclusion is to leave the reader with as much, if not more, excitement for your topic than they had when they began reading. Contrary to popular misconception, writing a conclusion does not mean merely rewriting your introduction in reverse, or, perish the thought, copying and pasting your introductory paragraph. Concluding an essay is the writer's last opportunity to speak directly to the reader and close the sale, as it were. It should review the main points, but not be repetitive or redundant in doing so. It must remind the reader why the argument was important in the first place. The conclusion does not have as many responsibilities to meet as the introduction, which can make it seem more difficult to write. Everything the essay wanted to say has been said already, right? Not exactly. Your conclusion needs to answer the question, so what? This aspect, along with the open communication opportunity between writer and reader, often render conclusions the most intimidating and honestly the weakest paragraph of the essay. Warnings, calls to action, and appeals to reader sensibilities are good fodder for a conclusion. Other effective methods of concluding an essay may include revisiting an example alluded to in the introduction. In some cases, writers can look backward or forward at history. If the topic is contemporary, imagine if the events occurred a century ago. If the topic is an historical one, relate it to the situation today, or to the path of history had circumstances been different. Another good tactic is to reference the topic into the grander scheme of popular culture, such as a movie, book, song, or television show. This example harkens back to history and looks toward the future relating to the issue of pollution. It refers to the example from the introduction, Thoreau and Walden Pond, and restates the examples from the thesis. The final sentence of this conclusion expresses the dark inevitability of humanity wallowing in an ever-increasing pile of its own filth, and presents a rather cynical view of the efforts to stem the growth of civilization's offal. Thank you very much for watching this presentation on writing introductions and conclusions. For answers to questions about this or any other writing topic, please stop by the Academic Center for Writing, the Ink Spot, in room W114. Thanks again for watching.